Welcome back to my channel. I'm James, and today we're going to be discussing and diving into one of my favorite cult classic 1980s, just kind of war type with a little dramedy in it, and it was just such a fun movie that I grew up loving. So I'm excited to announce we're going to deep dive into Red Dawn on 4K Ultra HD, and this is the new Shout Factory Shout Select release of Red Dawn. Now, a lot of people have kind of asked what's the difference between Shout Select and Shout Factory. It's just a line of movie releasing from Shout Factory, and they put numbers on the side here that basically show what the number is in the Shout Select line of releases. Now, this did get a release previously on Blu-ray by Shout Select as well, which we're going to touch on and do my exclusive image comparisons to the previous Blu-ray releases of Red Dawn to this new 4K Ultra HD release. Now, we've got a lot to cover here today, but before we get into that, make sure to give this video a like for me, so make sure to go down and hit the like button. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification. Now, to talk about the original Blu-ray releases here. Now, I got the Shout one after I had the original Blu-ray release, and I thought there was going to be a big difference between the Shout one that they released on Blu-ray versus the original Blu-ray. To my disappointment, when I originally got that, there wasn't much of a difference at all. I mean, it still had the problems with edge enhancement, very soft image in most scenes. They did use some DNR because it was from the original scan that was basically what was used for the original Blu-ray. So there just wasn't really much difference between either one of them. That image quality wise, they were both poor. There were so many issues throughout it. There was some banding, some blocking. Just, I mean, the list goes on and on. There's some problems with the audio where on both Blu-ray releases, there was some audio lag behind it and some soft audio scenes where it was softer, where you had a little harder time to hear what they were saying when they were either shooting their guns or being shot at, things like that. So overall, that Blu-ray release didn't have to do a whole lot for this new 4K, but as you're going to start to see up here above with these exclusive image comparisons that I do, there is a drastic difference between what they did on this new Red Dawn, and here's why. Basically, Shout Factory went and did a brand new 4K scan from the original camera negatives. Now, this is not the scan that was used on any of these previous Blu-rays before. This is brand new, which is why a lot of the things that were inherently bad in both those Blu-ray releases that you see above were gone in this, which is a nice and pleasant surprise. Now, if after you get done watching this review and you get to the end where I give my review score that sums everything up, if you decide you want to buy and pick up or add this one to your collection or buy the original Blu-ray release after you hear my review score, I will always have the links to buy these listed right down below in the description section and as a pinned comment in the comment section below. I've made it nice and easy for you. You click on those, it takes you straight out to Amazon, so that way you can buy or purchase your copy. Now, this review should be out roughly anywhere between 2 to 3 days before the release date. I've been working on this one for the last week, which is about a week before the release date is when I got my copy in. So this should come out a couple days before release date to let you know which one of these you're going to want to get. Well, talking about this release, when I was going through all of my exclusive testing on it, the big things I noticed is all of the DNR that was used on that previous Blu-ray release is completely gone from this. So the 4K image, which is a native 4K 2160p, is very nice looking in this. Shout Factory did a very nice job with the image not using DNR. Now, talking about film grain, there is some slight instabilities in the film grain on this release. Now, compared to the previous one, again, because they use DNR in a lot of it, when there is some film grain that's present on the original Blu-ray releases, it was very unstable. There was fluctuations and things like that. Well, on this new scan, a lot of those fluctuations are gone. When I compared them side by side in those scenes, you can't see those fluctuations nearly as much on this, though there are some slight fluctuations throughout it. And that basically I take it to mean is based on the original camera negatives, that there is some instabilities in those camera negatives when they're being scanned, because the actual basically film grain itself, you can see it throughout it. It doesn't get heavy or blocky where you see like blocks of heavy like clumped together film grain. So it does look nice and not too heavy throughout the film on this 4K. But what happens is sometimes you get some slight waves throughout that film grain, which causes instabilities where you'll kind of notice just a slight wave go across kind of your screen if you're watching closely and paying attention. But it's not horrible. So as always, I try to be picky for all of you to let you know all the goods and the bads and not leave anything out. This is a drastic improvement over the previous Blu-rays though in image quality overall, especially because there's no DNR, there's no real soft images throughout it. Their facial textures, clothing, as you're noticing in those image comparisons above, is drastically better looking, especially because on this new 4K Ultra HD from Shout Select, they did a new color grading as well. So the color grading, as you're noticing up there, is so much better looking on their skin tones. Flash, you've got obviously their clothing, cars, everything looks so much better because on the original Blu-ray releases, both the Shout and the previous one before that, they were very dull, overall lacking color saturation, and just looked kind of grayed out all together in all of those Blu-ray releases. So both of those before always had a very dullish look, which I thought was because they were trying to make it look kind of like an old, like almost black and white-ish, but not black and white, but kind of that feeling. That's how I thought. It's not the way it was supposed to be. It's simply because of the way those Blu-rays were made, because they were using old masters and they didn't go and do brand new ones on those. That's why they look that way. Well, with the new color grading and the new 4K scan, man, does Red Dawn look outstanding compared to any of those Blu-rays. Now with the new color grading, it does have a very nice black level detail throughout it without going into black crush. That's something I've talked about a lot on this YouTube channel over the years. Some people think with the HDR presentations and things like that, sometimes if your display is not calibrated correctly or you don't have it set up correctly where you have it either too dark or the contrast too high or all those different things can affect it, you can get black crush that's not actually present on the discs themselves. So keep in mind, depending on what display you're watching either my review on or that you're watching this 4K on, that will affect the quality of what you see, and that always is always the case. That's why I always recommend getting your display calibrated in some way. I have mine professionally calibrated, so that way I know I'm getting the best image possible for my displays. But the one thing I did like is there wasn't any black crush throughout it. It looked good. The blacks were very inky when they were black, but you could still see details in the dark, especially when they're in the dark or the night of the woods and things like that. It did look really good. Now, as I mentioned, this is a native 4K 2160p, and it does have HDR10 and Dolby Vision on it. And I applaud Shout Factory for adding the Dolby Vision option. Though I do have something that's a hiccup or something's wrong with my disc that I'm going to get to here in just a few minutes. But the Dolby Vision and HDR10 did look good. I always check between the two of them because I have several different 4K displays I test everything on. And I check them between the HDR10 and Dolby Vision to see if there's a big difference between either of the presentations. On this one, I'm happy to say the Dolby Vision and the HDR10 both looked really good, and I can't really say one stood out drastically ahead of the other. The Dolby Vision maybe just slightly, and when I say slightly, I'm meaning slightly, this is me being super picky, just slightly had a little bit more color saturation than what the HDR10 did. But I'm telling you, if you weren't sitting there putting them side by side, going back and forth like I was, you would never really notice the difference between the two of them on this release, in my opinion. It looked very similar between both and was a great presentation. And I did think the HDR stood out superbly on it. And I think for this film, Red Dawn, again, it added a whole new level and element to it that was never present on those Blu-rays anyways, with their dull, drab, kind of grayed out look for it. That's all gone on this, and man, I've never seen Red Dawn look that good. Now this does come in its original aspect ratio as well, which is 1.85 to 1. They didn't change it, cut it down, or do anything with that, which I always appreciate that. Now talking about the audio, here's where things get a little bit muddy, okay? On this, my understanding was we were supposed to get a Dolby Atmos mix. And I'm gonna show you the back of the box here and talk about this here for a minute because it's on the discs. Both the Blu-ray disc in here, which I'll show you here in just a few minutes, and the 4K disc have Dolby Atmos listed as the audio option on them on the outside printing of the disc. On the case here, it says Dolby Atmos and DTS HD Master Audio 5.1 in English. And then below, it says it again with the Dolby Atmos logo below. Here's the thing, I tested it out in all of my 4K players. Every one of my sound systems, Dolby Atmos, everything, there's not even an option on it. Heck, when you go to the main menu, it only has the DTS HD Master Audio 5.1 and a 2.0 stereo. So that Atmos mix, I don't know if that's a mistake they made. I did reach out to Shout Factory, but I filmed this over a time when basically I haven't had a chance to get a response from them yet. So basically over the last 3 days, I haven't gotten a response. So I'm putting this video out with no response, knowing Was that supposed to really be on there? Because everything I researched and tried to find out about, it's kind of a muddled mix. I don't know if it was truly supposed to be on there. I mean, it's printed on here, it's printed on the disc. It's nowhere present on my disc. So it's not an option on the Blu-ray, and it's not an option on the 4K. So I would have thought if it was on basically the 4K, but they accidentally didn't put it on there and it was still present on the Blu-ray, and here's why that makes a difference. The Blu-ray that's contained in this, just to let you know another good thing, it does not contain the original Blu-ray that Shout Factory released. It contains a brand new Blu-ray in this set that is of the new 4K scan. Just remember, it's dumbed down with no HDR down to 1080p HD. But the nice thing is you do get to enjoy not this old crappy release that they released on Blu-ray that was not good looking at all, sorry to say, but you do get to enjoy, if you only have Blu-ray right now and you're wanting to get these before they go out of print, like I always talk about, future-proofing yourself. This does include a Blu-ray that is of the new scan as well. Though, when you sit them side by side, the 4K obviously is where it's at. I mean, there's so many improvements because of that Dolby Vision and because of that HDR10 and obviously being on native 4K. But going back to the audio options, the confusing thing is I don't have an answer if that was supposed to be on there. I really wish it was, because when I got this, I was so excited thinking, man, I get Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos on a classic 1980s film that I love? Man, that's a huge upgrade. Well, to be a little disappointing, there is no Dolby Atmos mix at all on any of the discs in this set, even though it's printed on every single thing, the back of your box, the back of your slipcover, it's on the inside of the disc, but when you actually load it up, there is no option that I can find anywhere present on it, no matter how many consoles, no matter how many Blu-ray players, didn't matter what I tried it on, even when I ran it through my computer, there was no Dolby Atmos mix on any of the discs. So I don't know if that's a mistake or not, but I will update, and I'll post a link down below in the comment section once I do hear back from Shout Factory if this is a misprint, if it's just basically something that needs to go back, if it was simply something that they misprinted on the box, or whether there is a Dolby Atmos mix that was supposed to be on these discs and they're not aware that it wasn't printed on them. I'll make sure to update all of you, but as of right now, I was disappointed in that. The actual mix that is on this, the English DTS HD Master Audio 5.1, does sound light years ahead of what they had on the Blu-rays. A lot of those muddled audio mixes and muddled things that I noticed were in that are gone on the DTS HD that they have on this, so they must have basically reworked that and done that on this. But I still would have really loved that Dolby Atmos mix. When I saw it on here, my hopes got up. I was excited about it because I really love, as most of you know, Dolby Atmos, and I was excited to dive into a new Dolby Atmos mix. But that was a disappointment. So that does affect later on my review score. As always, I'm always upfront and honest with you. So that was a disappointment on this, that it's not on there, even though it's printed on everything. Now, subtitle-wise, you do get English, but only English subtitles on this release. Now, showing you the actual release here, you do get it in the nice 4K case. I did like the artwork on it. I do like the artwork way better on this than the Steelbook, by the way. I didn't like the Steelbook artwork at all, but I do like the foreboding look of the parachutes coming down with the city below it sleeping at night, and it's very foreboding. I really thought they did an outstanding job with the artwork on this. Side, it has number 13 listed for Shout Select, Red Dawn. Then it talks about it saying, obviously, new 4K scan from the original camera negatives. Talks about the special features. These are the same special features that were contained in the previous Blu-ray release from Shout Factory. There wasn't anything different that I noticed on it, so regardless of that, you're never going to watch that anyways because of how horrible it looks. So this does contain everything you're going to need special feature-wise. Now, getting inside here, again, this is where things get confusing. On the Blu-ray disc, it does say Region A locked on it. As always, I tested all my players and give you the accurate data on these. Sad to say, this one is Region A locked. So on your Blu-ray, it is Region A locked, which seems to be part of the course for most of Shout Selects and most of Shout Factory and Screen Factory anyways. I think I've only ever run into maybe one or two that were region free, but doesn't matter. As always, for my international audience, I will always test everything like I always exclusively have here on my YouTube channel. So that is Region A locked. So anyone in Region A, obviously Americas and things like that, we can watch it no problems. Anywhere outside, you're going to need a region free player. On your 4K Ultra HD, this one is a BD100, I'm happy to say. I really appreciate that they put it on a BD100. Blu-ray was a BD50. Sorry for not mentioning that. So on your BD100, this one is region free. But as I mentioned on the disc, they both do say right here, printed Dolby Atmos. There is no Dolby Atmos. So again, it's printed everywhere on this set. Now, talking about Red Dawn and why I loved it, you know, the thing I liked about it was it was very much hearkening to like teenagers fighting a war, and kind of just, maybe it wasn't as realistic as a lot of people would say nowadays, but it was just a fun film that I grew up loving. I mean, it came out in 1984, and it was pretty special because it was one of the first films ever to be rated PG-13. And a lot of people went to see it in theaters because they wanted to know what a PG-13 rated movie was, because there was PG and then there was R. PG-13 hadn't existed at that time. So this was the first one ever released at PG-13 for a little bit of history for all of you. So it was kind of one of those exciting things, and there was a lot of excitement around it. People wanted to know, hey, how does this fall in? Well, this movie wasn't too heavily more than like a PG movie at the time, and that's why I think I still enjoy it to this day. It's not too graphic, it's not too crass or over the top, but it's a fun movie. You can sit down with the family about kind of, you know, what if Russia would have invaded, and what if that would have happened. And I mean, growing up, obviously in the 80s, we had the whole Cold War thing where we felt like it was going to happen any day and things like that. So I think that's where this movie so heavily was influenced by those of us that grew up in that era. And now that it's available on 4K Ultra HD, it's available now for people to experience for the first time. I mean, my kids, it's the first time for them to experience, and I'm sure a lot of you have kids now that, same thing as me. I mean, I'm getting old, and now I got my older kids, they can watch things like this, and a lot of this they might not understand what we grew up in, but it's a way for them to experience some of these great classic cinema pieces now for the best visual quality they've ever been in. And especially with that DTS HD master audio mix on this, because it does sound so much better, even the bass sounded better on this release than it did on the Blu-ray before. So I know I was disappointed by the Dolby Atmos not being on there like it should have been, I guess, by what's printed all over it, but at least that DTS HD had better bass sounding, and it did sound clearer and crisper overall with their voices, so that was at least an upgrade over what the Blu-rays had. Now, getting to my review score here. Obviously, I mentioned some of the things I was disappointed in, but overall, the image quality is such a huge upgrade over this. The details, the fine level of black details behind it, and the color grading. This release of Red Dawn on 4K Ultra HD gets a good review score of a 9.0. It's one I recommend picking up, and I do say it is something to add to your collection. Just don't be expecting a Dolby Atmos mix, because it's not present on any of these discs, even though it seems to have been advertised that it was supposed to be on there. Now, like I did say, I'll update this and post a comment below once I do hear back from my representatives at Shout Factory to find out what's the case of what actually happened with that. Was it just somebody got crazy and excited and started printing Dolby Atmos on everything because they love Dolby Atmos? So they said, let's put it on the disc and all this when it wasn't supposed to be on there? Or is there a Dolby Atmos mix that's not present on this disc, which means there needs to be new discs made? I'll make sure to update all of you once I do hear back in the comment section below, so that way you know whether we need to get replacements, whether we don't, and what the case is. But the actual image itself, I mean, if there's no Dolby Atmos that was ever supposed to be present on it anyways, that's where it got the 9.0. Obviously, it lost a whole review point because it didn't have that Dolby Atmos that was advertised on it that I felt like should have been if it was advertised on there. But it is an upgrade still with the DTS, so that's a good news. And image is so nicely refined over anything those Blu-rays had. You're gonna throw that crap away. You're never gonna watch that crap again, because this blows away even Shout Factory's previous Blu-ray release and is the nicest presentation that Red Dawn has ever had. I had so much fun watching it again. It really kind of feels like sometimes with these 4K remasters and restorations and new 4K scans and everything that they're doing with a lot of these 4K releases, that sometimes it really is a visual treat, especially for me growing up in the 80s for a lot of these classic films, to see them in a whole new light where I actually feel like I'm watching it for the first time again, that it looks so much better than anything the Blu-rays had, that you really feel like it's a whole new movie. And that's where I think it's worth an upgrade just for that alone. And to me, that's what adds the level of excitement of collecting and buying these, so that way I can experience them way better than any of those Blu-ray releases ever looked. Now, to let you all know on something I'm working on right now, I've been very, very busy lately, and it's been a really, really busy time lately for 4K Ultra HD releases, Blu-ray releases. I mean, heck, I just did here recently, about 2 days ago, the Virginian exclusive remastered Blu-ray versus DVD image comparison review. That's an exclusive review you'll only find here on my VIP Club section. And I've done a couple of reviews on there. That's a brand new thing where if you love classic TV series, that's where you're going to want to be. You're going to want to make sure to join my Collector's VIP Club, as well as to support this YouTube channel. The best way to do that, so I can keep creating all this exclusive content with these image comparisons that you love, is through my Collectors VIP Club membership. And there will be some 4K versus Blu-rays coming up on there. Now, something else I'm working on, I got this in from Shout Factory and Scream Factory. This is about 2.5 weeks early. They sent me this for early review. This is the new Dog Soldiers 4K Ultra HD that I've been talking about for a while. And I just wanted to tease that I'd gotten this in, so I'm now going to be diving into this and then doing my exclusive image comparisons, Blu-ray versus 4K, letting you know how this compares, just like I did here with Red Dawn. So you're going to want to make sure that you're subscribed to this YouTube channel. Make sure to give this video a like as well and hit the bell notification. If you have not joined my Collectors VIP Club yet, you need to make sure you join so you don't miss out on any of that exclusive content. I've got Bionic Women coming up in there. I also just got in 3 4Ks from around the world that are going to be exclusive reviews in my Collectors VIP Club membership as well. There's something nobody wants to do. See, the whole reason I have that Collectors VIP Club is to support this YouTube channel so I can keep creating all this content. You see, nobody wants to spend all their time doing all of these exclusive image comparisons, testing data, taking all the discs, going side by side and doing all of the work that I do here on my channel. The only way I can continue to do this is through all of your support. That VIP Club membership is how I'm able to afford to keep doing this, because otherwise I would take 8 minutes of my day, chat about it while I hold something in my hand for a second saying, hey, it looked decent, and stop recording the video and be done. Because that's the only way I can do these types of exclusive image comparisons is through all of your support. If you enjoy all this content and you love all the hard work I put into these videos that no one else is wanting to do, I'm the only YouTuber that spends all his time going through all this data, getting all these image comparisons, and doing all this hard work for all of you. Make sure to join that Collectors VIP Club membership or give us super thanks down below at the super thanks button that's right below every video. Even if you can only give a couple of dollars on each video, that goes right back in, that helps support this channel so I can keep doing this and doing all this hard work for all of you. And I just want to say thanks to all of you that have supported me over the years and given financial support to this YouTube channel, because that really does make the difference, and that's the only way I can keep doing what I love. So keep a lookout here. Dog Soldiers should be coming up next. I'm going to be diving into this here. I'm actually going to watch it tonight and start going through and testing it all tomorrow and over the next several days and getting all the data off of all of the discs. But there's another very exciting release that I'm excited to dive into as well. If you're wanting to pick up Red Dawn or you want to pre-order Dog Soldiers, I'll put those links as always in the description section right below and as a pinned comment in the comment section below. So make sure if after watching this video you're going to pick up any of these releases, make sure to go down to one of those links either in the description section right below or as a pinned comment in the comment section below. It takes you straight out to Amazon. I always make it nice and easy for all of you, and I've done all the work for all of you. And it does help support this YouTube channel just a tiny bit at no extra cost to you. So make sure to click on those links down below. I had a fun time with this one today. Let me know in the comment section below how excited you are for Dog Soldiers, how excited you are for Red Dawn, what your thoughts are about either release, if you've seen either one. I always love to hear from all of you, so make sure to start the conversation in the comment section below. As always, I hope all of you have a blessed day, and I've always got something new and exciting coming out very soon.